what's up guys? My name's Brandon. In this video, I'm going to walk you through as I install a red LED strip light in my glove box of my BRZ. It's kind of weird that the car didn't come with a light in the glove box to start with, so let's fix it. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to go over all the tools that I'm going to be using for the project. I'm going to be using a heat gun, a Phillips head screwdriver, a pair of pliers, a pair of wire strippers, a box knife, scissors, some heat shrink tubing, and I'm going to be using a soldering iron, a panel removal tool, a reel of LEDs, but you don't need a whole reel. I just had some left over from my previous project. You can just go out and buy a single strip if you want. I'm going to be using a drill, and then I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch sized drill bit to drill the hole for my momentary switches. And then I'm going to also be using some 20 gauge 12 volt wiring. And then of course I'm going to have some solder for my soldering iron and a 10mm socket wrench for disconnecting the battery. Before I start actually doing any work on the car, it'd be a good idea for me to go disconnect the battery. So let's go do that right now. Alright, so disconnecting the battery is pretty straightforward. All you gotta do is take your 10mm socket wrench and then loosen up this nut right here on the black terminal. And you should be able to wiggle this bad boy off there. There we go, set it aside, and that's it. You don't have to worry about the positive at all. So now that the battery is disconnected, I'm going to explain a little bit about what we're actually going to do with the project. So inside of the glove box, there are these two rubber stoppers for the door. I'm going to replace this rubber stopper with the momentary button so that when the button is pressed, meaning the door is closed, that the light will turn off. And when the door is open, the switch will be released and the light will turn on. The plan right now is to wire this switch up into this cigarette lighter that my dash cam's plugged into. I'm gonna splice it into the wiring behind there. It's pretty cramped, but it should be able to be accessed once we take off this side panel here and pull out the assembly a little bit for the glove box. So the first step to actually doing this is I'm gonna need to take off this panel so I can reach back there. We're gonna take off the door, and then we're gonna take out the 7 screws that hold the assembly in place. So there are 2 screws at the top front right here, then there are 2 below those, 2 in the back, and then there is 1 at the bottom here. The first step is we're gonna remove this panel right here on the side of the dash. So to do that, take your panel or molding removal tool, and there's actually a small crevice like right at the bottom here where my finger is. You can actually stick it in there, pull out, and it just snaps right off. And that's that. So now that this side panel is off, we can reach back there, and you can actually see this hydraulic, I don't know, hinge or lever, whatever you want to call it, that supports the door. So it's only held on by one small little plastic pin, and you can just put your fingers behind it and push it off. And then if you want, you can reach in and push it down. And then all you gotta do to get this off now is you got to pull in the sides. I just do one at a time. Go. Like that, and then pops right out. Now that we got the little door out, we can take out the screws. There we go. So now that we got that side panel off, we got the glove box door out, and we got the 7 screws out, you're going to want to loosen up the rest of the glove box assembly as much as you can. Unfortunately, it seems near impossible to actually take the entire assembly out of the car. I actually like disassembled all of my center console, all the panels up top and everything to try to get this out, but it is just wedged into some hard plastic and metal that's way behind here in the center console. Aside from completely disassembling the interior of the car, what you're gonna wanna do is, you're just gonna wanna pull this part straight out toward you, and then you're gonna wanna work your fingers up along the inside. There's some clips in there. Just try to pull as much forward or towards your seat as possible instead of down, because you don't want to damage these clips that are in here by pulling down too much. And then you should be able to, with a little bit of force, wiggle this out a little bit more. And then this is about as much as we're going to be able to get it open without damaging it. So as you can see back there, right here, I'm touching with my finger, is the back of the accessory power for the cigarette lighter. So we're going to want to disconnect that. And the easiest way to do it, since there's really no room for your fingers, is you're going to want to take a small set of pliers. And let's see if I can do this with one hand and holding the camera for you guys to see. Alright, I'm going to freeze frame right here real fast to tell you guys that if you want to make life easier on you, you can actually take a pair of pliers and squeeze on the sides of this plastic pin and then push out to disconnect that electrical harness from the rest of the assembly to give you a lot more room to work with. So I find the easiest way to do it, instead of trying to grab the plug, is just wedge the pliers in between the plug and the pins and try to force it off of there. There we go. So I have it disconnected now. And now we're good to actually start preparing our LEDs and then preparing to wire it all up. Now that it's time for me to start preparing my LED strips, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information about them in case you're not aware. So on every LED strip, there are lines where you can cut the LED strip to get it to the right size that'll work for you, such as here, 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 and here. There are also positive and negative symbols next to their corresponding copper plates on the circuit board of the LED strip, where you will solder your positive and negative wiring. Now if you look at this image, you can see that I already used my box knife to cut off the plastic molding over the LED strip to expose the copper circles where I will be soldering my wiring. So now that the LED strip is cut and ready to go, we can start soldering and getting our button ready. Alright, so we hooked up the wires from the LED strip to the button. So we put the positive onto one side and then had another positive coming from the other side. And the negative runs back over into the negative on the bottom here. And then we just run the positive and the negative to their respective terminals on the It's a 9-volt battery right here. And then when we press the button, it should deactivate. There we go. Check that out. It's like magic, you guys. Alright. Cool. Do it. Ooh, looks legit. Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Alright, cool. By this point, I've already determined the proper length of the button to make contact with the door, which involved me removing the black or red cap that comes on the end of the button, and also taking some pliers and snapping off the extra plastic that the button would sit on top of. And then just placing the supplied spacer on the back of the button and the washer in the front. So now I'm just spray painting it black so that it'll blend in a little bit with the glove box. We'll paint for a little guy. Yeah. Definitely want to let that seat down and dry. Alright guys, so now comes the fun part. I'm gonna have to snip the wires that connect this electrical plug that goes to the back of the cigarette lighter. There's really barely any space to work back there. So this is gonna be hard in itself, but my plan is to connect this extra couple inches of wiring to the wires back there to give me a little bit of extra room to work later when I have to connect the wires from the LED switch back to this, and also back to the electrical plug that goes to the cigarette lighter again. So I will snip that and get back to you. Okay guys, so after about, I don't know, 45 minutes or so of doing this pain in the ass wiring, I finally got it all hooked up. So I have the switch in here. It's in there nice and tight. We got the wiring for it running over the top here. And I got some tape holding it in place. So it runs to the back, where I then connected it with the wire coming from the accessory power, and then I connected those to the plug that goes into the cigarette lighter. So now it's time to just go hook up the battery and turn on the car and see if it works. Car didn't blow up, that's a good sign. Oh, look at that, you guys, it's on. So the light's on. Now the real test is if I push this button, is the light gonna turn off? And it does. Check it out. Look at that, you guys. All right. So now, just gotta put everything back together, and that'll be the final test to see if it actually does all work together. Alright guys, so one last final important test that I almost forgot to do was to actually see if the door activates the switch properly. So, it's open right now, and the LEDs are on. You can see them glowing back there. I'll close the door, and they're off. You don't see any more glow. Open, close, open, close. So there we go guys. Now, I'm just gonna take the LEDs. I'm gonna clean the area up there real good with some alcohol, and I'm probably gonna add a little bit of Loctite, outdoor crystal clear adhesive to the top of it as well to make sure it sticks for a really long time and resist temperatures. Well guys, I think I'm gonna leave the video there. I'm not gonna bother attaching the LED strip and everything. I'm pretty sure you guys are smart enough to figure that out by yourselves. But in case you liked the video or learned something, feel free to hit that like button for me. And if you want to see more BRZ stuff in the future, you can always subscribe. And if you have any questions or comments about the video, or if you would like to maybe have some suggestions or would like to see me do a particular project in the future, feel free to let me know and I'll see what I can do, you guys. Until next time.